excuse me, what just happened to me? Did I just get scammed? Did I just send this woman like over $1,000 and she just run away with my money? Hi everyone, welcome back to the chat with Kwabz. So today I'm kind of introducing a new series that I think will be beneficial to people that live in the DMV area. It's going to be focused on apartment and housing searches in the DMV area. I haven't seen a lot of those videos online or on the YouTube, platform in general. And so for me, when I was trying to find a place in the DMV area, when I first moved and also very recently, it was kind of hard to get any tangible information that would benefit me. So I thought, why not just create a video that will help other people and kind of lessen the stress of finding apartments in this area, especially for those people who haven't lived in the DMV area before and they have no clue what to expect. So this video is for you guys. I hope it's informational enough, and just in general, I think the tips in this video would help anyone living in any when I say metro, I mean metropolitan area. So for those who don't know, the DMV is basically the DC metropolitan area, and it literally stands for DC, Maryland. My friends laugh at me. They say I say Maryland funny. I don't know, but Maryland and Virginia. So, and when I say Maryland and Virginia, not the entire state, but the northern part of Maryland and the northern part of Virginia. Okay. So moving on to what the important things you should kind of have at the back of your mind when you're trying to find apartment in the DC area. I've kind of made a list of things and I'm going to walk through them. But also bear in mind that this list is good for anywhere in the world that you're trying to find. Well, let me say anywhere in the US, because here in the US, this is going to pretty much help you. I think they're standard things that you should have at the back of your mind when you're looking for housing. I'm going to give you some information that is specific to the DMV. So first of all, please, I think this is something that is underestimated, but is so important. It could just transform your life, not just in housing, but in general. But specifically for housing, guys, make a budget. The best word in the world. Everybody hates that word. Or let me not say everybody, because I don't. But most people hate the word budget. But that is going to be a lifesaver. Create a budget. What should go into your budget should be, first of all, determine how little you are willing to spend and how much you're willing to spend on getting an apartment. And bear in mind, you have to think about several things when it comes to like the budget, right? Are you going to be living alone, or are you going to have roommates? So when you take that into consideration, right, how much are you willing to spend and how little are you willing? So it's going to be kind of a range, right? From the littlest, that's not a word, I know, but I'm trying to, the littlest you are willing to spend to the greatest. The greatest you're willing to spend, okay? So yeah. And, you're not just creating a budget because you're trying to tick something off and say, yes, I created a budget, or I have like a budget at the back of my mind. You're creating it because you're going to stick to it, right? Stick to that budget. And that budget should take into consideration your lifestyle, your living expenses, everything, because you don't want to be paying rent that you can't afford. Taking into consideration your food, transportation, because transportation in the DMV area is expensive, so you have to bear that in mind. Utilities as well, but I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But all of those things, all encompass it, and then put aside money for rent that is going to be sensible and not put you on the verge of homelessness because you don't have the money to pay your rent. Next thing, I think is essential for everyone to have a list of the things that they're looking for when they're looking for an apartment. And when I say the things you're looking for, I mean amenities, right? So every apartment has its own set of amenities that it comes with. And so you have to be proactive in listing, okay, what is it that I'm looking for? Do I want a washer and dryer in unit, that means in my apartment, or I don't mind having washer and dryers in the apartments that are shared, that everybody in the apartment could use, or I don't mind going to the laundromat to wash my stuff. You have to be aware of that. Is there parking if you have a car? What are the guest parking rules? Can you have guest parking, especially if you have people come visit you who have cars? Does it have a swimming pool? Does it have a gym? All of those things that are part of your apartment complex, you should take into consideration, because you don't want to move somewhere and then be struggling because you don't have all of those amenities that ideally would have made your life. And when you're creating this list of amenities, right, you should have a list of what is the most essential, the thing that you can't live with, what you need the most, right? And then you can have maybe like the things you can't compromise on but you'd like to have but are not going to change your life here or there. For example, having the swimming pool. For me, it will be nice to have, but it's not going to change my life. But one thing that I was like, I need to have was an in-unit wash and dryer, because I just don't like to have, for hygiene purposes, I didn't want to have to use, a shared laundry system or whatever. So that was me. I had to have a laundry and an in-unit wash and dryer thing in my apartment, but other people don't care. So you make that list for yourself, and yourself what makes sense to you, put on that list, and also be willing to compromise on the things that aren't necessarily essential for your well-being but are nice to have. The next thing you should think about is location and accessibility. So as I said, the DMV area is pretty accessible. You have a lot of buses and the metro. When we say the metro, it means the train system. It's very effective in the DMV area as a whole. But one thing you should realize is that in DC, the further away you're traveling, only on the metro, not with the bus system. The bus system is a fixed rate wherever you're going, right? But when it comes to the metro system, depending on how far you're going from your original destination to your final destination, prices vary. So it gets expensive the further out you travel versus if you travel closer, within a closer range. So you have to bear that in mind, taking into consideration transportation cost. And transportation in the DMV is not cheap. Let me just put that out there. So when you're looking for where you want to live, right, think about, do I not mind spending a lot on transportation so that I could live maybe a little bit outside of DC? And also, you have to be aware of, where am I going to be working and where would I live? Because that's the majority of the time you spend like traveling, right? And also accessibility to fun places, or like the city or whatever. So all of those things come into play, right? So just be aware that when you're trying to find an apartment, right, you have to think about, how far away is it from the places that are important to me, and am I willing to pay the amount of money that I need to pay for me to get to the places that I want to get to. So that's very important. For me, I live in downtown Silver Spring, which is very close to DC, and I work in DC. So that was very important to me. I didn't want to live in DC because the apartment that I was looking for and like the amenities that I had to have for me to be able to get that in DC was going to be way above my budget. So I decided to look for those things like outside of DC, because it's a little cheaper, not that cheaper, but a little cheaper than if you were smack in DC. So for me, I had to take into consideration my distance from where I live to work and getting there, how accessible is it. So I had to find somewhere that was very close to a metro stop. That's another thing, guys. You don't want to live somewhere that you wouldn't have accessibility to public transportation, or a metro nearby, or a bus that could take you to the metro, or a bus that could take you straight to the destination you want to get to. So it's very important to take all of those things into consideration when you're looking for an apartment. I hope this makes sense. It's kind of jumbled, but I think the crux of what I'm saying is that be mindful of the fact that based on how far away you live from your favorite places or the important places like work, you might pay more if you're using the metro system. And also, living in DC tends to be a little bit expensive. So think about how far away from DC you want to live, but also be mindful of, how close am I to public transportation that could take me wherever I want to get to. You feel me? Okay, so moving on. I mentioned earlier that when you're creating your budget, or thinking about how much you're willing to spend on your apartment and whatever, that a roommate or roommates might be an option for you when it comes to mitigating your costs, so you don't have to spend too much money. It's so much cheaper to get a roommate than to live on your own. So that's one thing that is very important for you to be mindful of. Make a list of what you're looking for in a roommate. Have at the back of your mind, and if you don't want to write it on paper, that's fine. It's always good to write it on paper. What are the qualities, what are the expectations that you want in a roommate, so that when you do go out there and start looking, that you find at least as close to what you're looking for than not. Because you don't want to live in a situation where it's like, I don't like these people, or I don't like how they live, or whatever, and it doesn't stress you out. Just have at the back of your mind that roommates will help to reduce your costs of rent and all of that significantly. That's if you want to have a roommate. So now, once you have those separate lists of the things that you want, your budget, your amenities list, your roommate list, etc., etc., now it's launching into finding those places. Good old Google is your best friend. Just start Googling. Maybe some of the searches you could do is affordable rent in DMV, and it will give you a whole list of websites that you can go to and start looking. A couple of websites that I recommend are Trulia, Trulia, Zillow. Those two are very, very, very helpful. But also apartmentrating.com, I think that's one place that people also look. Apartments.com and stuff like that. The three tools that I like to use a lot when it comes to apartment search are Trulia, Zillow, and Google. Google is very helpful, guys, but you just have to be willing to look. Another bonus search place that you could use when it comes to finding housing in DC is Facebook. So there are a lot of Facebook groups that, and I could link some of them in the description box below so you could take a look. Facebook groups that people list, apartments that they are subletting. That's also a good place to find roommates. Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups in general are good places. And one thing that is very important is to look at the reviews as well, because the pictures on the websites are going to sell you the best thing ever. They're going to tell you that this is the best place to live, you think it's amazing, whatever. But sometimes, again, Google, okay? Google reviews are so good, because then you hear what people who actually live in those apartment complexes have to say. And be mindful of the fact that people are just people, and sometimes the negative reviews are not really, true about their apartment complexes, but some of them can be helpful. So if you do see consistent reviews about one negative thing, maybe you should take that into consideration, but take everything with a pinch of salt is basically what I'm trying to say. Although it's helpful, take it with a pinch of salt and be, looking out for the consistent reviews about a place. That could help you with narrowing things down and making a decision that will be good for you in the end. So once all of that is done, you can compile a list of places that suit you, the places that fit your budget. Remember, guys, we're sticking to this budget. We're not doing more than what we've budgeted. You don't want to be like living from hand to mouth. It's good to have a budget and stick to it. I keep hammering on that because it's important. So once you have that, you have a list of apartments that fit your budget, that have the amenities that you're not willing to compromise on, and other amenities that come, that are like, hey, good to have or nice to have. And then you know that those places are accessible to your work or to the other places that you're interested in being able to get to, and you found roommates, whatever, all of those things. Once that has been compiled, right, then you can move on to the next thing, which is apartment tour. So essential, so important. You need to go to the places that you kind of listed. And I mean, okay, I understand if you live outside of the DMV area and you can't travel to come and look at those places, yeah, that's fair, that happens. But let me advise you that as much as possible, if you can find someone to go and take a look at the place, or if you can find someone that can legitimize those places, do it. And I say this because I had a bad experience. I'm going to share a little story that yeah, it's funny now, but at that time it wasn't funny. So I was looking for a place freshly out of college, was trying to find an apartment in DC, and I was using the Facebook group. Let me just put that out there, disclaimer. Don't believe everything that you see on those Facebook groups, because there are scammers out there, guys, and they are looking to take your money. So again, be smart. As much as possible, try to visit the places that you find. Anyway, let me just get to the story. So I found this woman on the Facebook group who sent me these pictures of this apartment that was so beautiful, and it was like, wow, perfect, exactly what I was looking for. The rent was so good, and I was like, my goodness, I've hit, you know, the mother lode. Like this is amazing. I'm going to go ahead with this, right? And I was also desperate to find a place. So coupled with my desperation and how good this, you know, apartment, whatever that I found was, I was like, I'm going for it, right? And I was like, oh, I don't need to go and look. I trust this woman. I don't know what I was thinking. It's fine. She doesn't seem to be lying to me. Just go ahead and go with it. So she asked me to give her all of this money to put a deposit on the apartment, and then later on I'll give her the rest of the money. And I was like, okay, fine, let me do that now. I don't want anyone else to get this apartment. This is great. Like everything I've been looking for, I'm going to do it. So then I wire this woman the money, and she's like, okay, great. And then she comes back and she's telling me all of these stories about how her mom has cancer and she needs money immediately to pay her mom's hospital bills or whatever before she would give me the keys to my apartment, so I should give her the money. And silly old me, I don't know what I was thinking, guys, because I'm not this naive. But I guess I was so desperate, and I was like, okay, fine, whatever. I'm just going to send you the money, right? So I sent her the money, and I was like, oh, so yes, okay, so this is why I sent her the money, because I was like, yeah, no, that's not the full story. So I sent her the money because she wanted she wanted the entire rent. So what I sent her earlier was like a deposit. It wasn't the entire rent. And she was like, okay, no, now I need the entire rent because of this family emergency that has happened. I was like, okay, fine, just take the money, right? I just need the place as soon as possible. Tell me why after I sent her this money, this woman was not responding to my text anymore. Like she just like ignored me. She just went push, vanished. And I was like, excuse me, what just happened to me? Did I just get scammed? Did I just send this woman like over $1,000 and she just ran away with my money? Yes, this is what happened to me. So I was like, oh, maybe I just need to go over to the apartment complex and just maybe when I get there I'll meet her. I don't know, guys. I was just I'll meet her and then we can have a conversation. And mind you, guys, I had signed a lease and everything. I had done all of the legal things that I had to do. I get over there and I go to this apartment unit that I'm supposed to be renting out. Paid all the money, and it's someone else's apartment. Yes, this happened to me. So when I say go and look at the place that you're renting or you want to rent before you pay out any money, I mean it, because I've been on the other side of that and it's not fun. So make sure that you do that. If you can't, get someone to do it on your behalf, or if you can't do that too, then maybe try as much as possible to stay away from people who try to sell you dreams. I'm just putting this story out there so you can be sensible as much as possible about looking for an apartment, right? But that's essentially it. So once you do that, you just narrow down your list and then make a final determination of what the best apartment complex is going to suit all your needs, and then make the jump and then move, right? And I'll talk about, maybe I'll do a separate video like moving tips, because I've moved quite a lot. Not quite a lot, I've moved twice in the past 2 years, so I kind of have some experience in moving, so I can share some of my tips with you. So yeah, that's essentially all you need to know in a nutshell. But I think, let me just add these bonus tips. Make sure that in addition to the budget that I've said 1,000 times, make sure that in that budget you're taking into consideration utilities, because not every apartment complex has their utilities included in their rent. So you might, let's say, find a place that says the rent is $1,000, right? However, you might have to pay for utilities, which could go up to $120 depending on how much you use, or how many utilities you have to pay for. Some complexes will pay for your gas and your trash and your water, but you have to pay for electricity. Some complexes will pay for none of those, and others will pay for all of them. So you just have to be aware of that. Include that in your budget. Also include the fact that if you do have a car, that you might have to pay for parking. So that is an amenity that you also want to put in your amenity list. Am I looking for free parking, or do I not mind paying for parking? Because you will have to pay in some places. Also, if you have pets, you have to pay a deposit on your pet before you include into your monthly rent your pet rent. So some complexes, once you move in and you sign your lease and you pay your security deposit, you're going to pay a deposit on your pets. And in addition to all of that, whatever your monthly rent is, you have an additional monthly pet rent. So bear in mind that could also increase your rent in general, your whatever is coming out of your account on a monthly basis. And then there are other places that you have to pay a one-time amenity fee that could be up to $500, or you have to pay a monthly amenity fee that could be like $50 a month. So this is what I was saying about your budget, right? Because whilst you can have a base, rent of this is how much I'm willing to pay, just be aware that all of these other things come into play. So when you're making your budget, include your rent and all of these other things that I've mentioned, because you don't want to be struggling to pay for stuff in DC, because these are essential things. So guys, I hope I've made my point, and I hope that this has been helpful to you on some level. All of these things, when it comes to finding an apartment, are important to be aware of. As you're doing your search, think about all of those things that I've mentioned. They're going to help you, and they're going to release a huge amount of stress and take out some of the mystery of looking for apartments, especially for those of us who are coming out of college and we're being thrown into the real world and we don't really have a lot of support. Maybe you have your parents, that's great, but if you don't, this could help you. I wish you guys all the best. I'm just praying that your journey to finding your place will be smoother than mine was, but also efficient and not crazy stressful. Okay guys, so thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm looking forward to your comments. Let me know what your experiences have been, if you've gone through the process of finding an apartment in the DMV area, what your losses have been, like mine. Any tips that you have that I didn't mention that you think would be beneficial to people, and just other people who have comments in general, questions, whatever you have, put them in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion. I know how stressful it can be, and I'm here to help. So put out all your questions, share with other people who might be in the same boat, and even if they're not looking for apartments in the DMV area, wherever they're looking for apartments, this is helpful. Go ahead and do that, and let's have a conversation, and let's just keep learning and growing together and becoming better versions of ourselves. So stay tuned for more. I'm so excited to have you here, and don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and don't forget to comment. I want to hear your voices, guys. Okay, so take care and bye for now.